Now, when you're doing pork, I get a lot of questions. How do you keep it from drying out? You know, how do you keep it from tasting like shoe leather? When I was growing up, we used to have to cook pork forever and a day. So my tips for keeping pork nice, juicy, flavorful, and wonderful and not dry. Number one, do not overcook it. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Number two, marinade, marinade, marinade. It's a great way to get some extra flavor in there, keep it nice and tender. Pork is so lean, it's even leaner now than it used to be, that it tends to be dry naturally. And number three, serve it with a sauce. So this combines all of those great ideas, and it is just yummy. So we're going to start with a quick homemade teriyaki sauce, and you probably have most of the ingredients already in your house right now. We're going to do this. This is going to be like a twofer. It's going to be not only a marinade, but also a sauce to go with the pork. So we're going to do soy sauce, sherry. This is just the sherry that I keep on hand in my liquor cabinet for cooking. If you didn't have sherry, a dry white wine would work. Brown sugar. So we've got the sweet and the salty going on. Garlic, and we've got 4 cloves of garlic that I'm just going to give a rough chop to. Hey, book clubs tonight, by the way, so if you signed up, be there or be square. We're headed to the Bottle Room at 5:30 tonight. It is going to be a blast. Can't wait. They're going to provide munchies. We'll just buy some beverages, and we're going to have some great conversation. And if you missed out on book club, don't worry. Still not too late. We'll be announcing our next book later this week, and then we'll have another book club meeting coming up this summer. So get in on it. It's a lot of fun. I know a lot of people say, I've always wanted to do it. We'll do it. And it's not just women. Guys come too. And it's just, I don't know. I love reading. I love talking about the book. And who doesn't like getting out every once in a while? Speaking of getting out, our next big night out is coming up next Tuesday, May 20th, and it's still not too late to get on this either. We're headed to a great restaurant in the Valley. It's getting really wonderful reviews. It's a farm-to-table restaurant, which is very, very trendy across the country, and now we have some farm-to-table restaurants in our area. This one just opened up in Appleton, and the menu that they've put together is just over the top. A 5-course meal paired with different wines, or if you prefer, they will pair it with different beer. But we're talking about a soup course, salad course, a surf and turf dinner, a course of halibut, and then another course of steak, and then a wonderful dessert. It's going to be a great time, all for $50 per person. So go online or call the number on your screen to reserve your spot today. This one's booking up pretty quickly. Okay, back to the teriyaki sauce. So we had brown sugar, soy sauce, sherry, 4 cloves of minced garlic, and now we're going to do some fresh ginger. And this is what fresh ginger looks like. If you're not familiar with it, it looks kind of creepy. It kind of does, but it's fantastic. It's so good. There's nothing like fresh ginger. So and it's pretty easy to work with. It's not expensive. You're going to find it right next to usually next to the garlic and the onions in that part of the grocery store. So I'm just using a paring knife to peel it a little bit. And this is a pretty big piece. But like I say, it's very inexpensive, and you can wrap it up, and it'll keep in your fridge for a couple weeks or in your freezer for even longer than that, a couple months. But the smell of fresh ginger is amazing, and it's really great in recipes. You can also buy fresh minced ginger in jars like you would, jarred garlic. Even you can also buy it in a tube, like they do garlic now in a tube, and pesto in a tube, and tomato paste. This is definitely my choice rather than the dried ginger. You're going to get so much more flavor. And I'm just using my microplane. You could also just dice it up really, really fine. We want to get some nice fresh ginger flavor in here. A box grater also works, but sometimes you find half of the whatever you're grating stuck right in there. Now you could, if you really wanted to, take a shortcut here and buy a thicker, you don't want the real thin teriyaki sauce for this recipe if you wanted to save some time. So I'm whisking this together. And half of this is going to be our marinade for our pork tenderloins. This is going to be enough for 2 pork tenderloins. The other half you're going to keep in the fridge covered, and when it comes time to grilling your pork tenderloins, right before you fire up that grill, you're going to take some of this reserve marinade that hasn't been marinated with the pork, and you're going to use that side burner on your grill, or you're going to use basically the your indoor saucepan or stove and saucepan, and simmer that down a little bit, and that's going to be a sauce to serve on top, and also you can baste your tenderloin with that. All right, let's talk a little bit about the pork tenderloin itself. So one ingredient I forgot to put in here, and I love this stuff: sesame oil. So a little bit of that in there, and I'll put a little of that in my reserve marinade. This is one of the secret ingredients in a lot of Asian cooking. It's got this wonderful nutty flavor. I always have it on hand in my pantry. Great in stir fries, and it is. Have you smelled this before, Ann? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it smells. It's delicious, as Ann says. Love that. So don't leave that out, the sesame oil. Okay, braided pork tenderloin. This is what makes this recipe extra special. Okay, so we've got our pork tenderloin here, and I'm just using my hands because my hands are clean, washed them just before the segment. I'm going to get it into a bag and pound it just a little bit. This is, besides the marinade, this is what makes this recipe so special. You could also put it between 2 pieces of plastic wrap. That would work too. And you don't need to pound it too thin, but just so it will have a little bit more surface to work with. Okay, so we've got our pork tenderloin. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a big knife, and I'm going to cut 3 strips into my pork tenderloin. If you have a really big pork tenderloin, what you can do is cut the whole thing in half and then cut your 3 strips. Now notice I'm leaving about 1 inch or 1/2 of an inch on the top. Thank you, Ann. So basically what we have here, and I'll show you what we're going to do with it, we're going to make a braid with this tenderloin. So this is what it looks like. It looks a little odd right now. Bear with me. So this, at this point, goes into our Ziploc bag along with our marinade, and we'll have 2 of these in here. Really make sure that that marinade gets into our pork, and get this in the fridge all day long, or better yet, overnight. I like to marinate for 24 hours. Oh, thank you, Ann. I'm checking on my sauce. Looks perfect. Okay, now here's the tenderloin that came out of the fridge. Been marinating, again, overnight or up to 12 hours. And I'm just going to get that out of here. And I know it looks like something from Halloween. It really does look kind of creepy. But don't worry, it's going to look fabulous. So at this point, we're going to braid it, just like you would be braiding your daughter's hair. And let me tell you, it is much easier than braiding my daughter's hair. I kid you not. She is not a big fan. Okay. And as tight as you can do it, because we really want to see those nice pieces of braid. One of these is going to serve about 2 people, 2 to 3 people. So I would say 2. They're pretty small. Depends on how big your pork tenderloins are. And then the ends you're going to secure with a toothpick. You can completely get the marinade done ahead. You can completely have these braids done, and then you're ready to, for grill season right before your cookout. Okay, I'm going to clean up my mess here a little bit, and let me tell you, I've made a big one. So come back with me. We've got the sauce, the reserve sauce that's been cooking down. You see that there? Very, very hot. So while the pork tenderloin is grilling, we can brush a little of the sauce on it toward the end, give it some more flavor. And you're going to have you know, 3 or 4 of these lined up on a platter, and you bring them out, and like I said, talk about a wow factor. Just looks so cool. Serve this with some potatoes and a big salad. They're very easy to do once you kind of get the hang of it, and they look amazing. So there you go. Braided pork tenderloin that we've done in a teriyaki glaze. We'll put the recipe on the website. You can also pick it up at any area festival foods. It is going to be the hit at your cookout. Just a really fun, different summer recipe. Coming up, we're doing ribs on the grill and homemade ice cream drinks. Perfect for summer. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.